What's up everyone? The new episode of the challenge is here and an MRI scan that changed it all. We've got so much to talk about, so welcome to your challenge breakdown. Right before we get started, if you are new around here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I am here every single week breaking down everything that happened in the challenge, vets and new threats. So if you don't want to miss a thing and you want to stay up to date with everything challenge related, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Can you also hit the like button, folks? It only takes 0.2 seconds to do so and helps me more than you even know. But without further ado, let's get to the breakdown. Now, right off the bat, after last week's elimination of Blue, the contestants were paired back up with brand new people. And the following are the pairs: Lekka and Leroy, Turbo and Izzy, Olivia and Justin, Will and Nani, America and Johnny Bananas, CT and D, Anissa and Jeremy, Ashley and Jake, Michaela is with Cedric, Leo and Aviv, Naya and Gabe, Ben and Cara Maria, Sydney and Derek Chavez, Theo and Adrian, which left the other Derek and Tay to come together. Now, the first segment we saw this episode was Naya actually worrying about her knee. She felt that she had had an injury and was basically contemplating whether or not she should go and get an MRI scan. Now, we know, folks, if you watch Survivor, if you watch the challenge, anything like this, if you go for a scan and then the doctors say, hey, that's pretty bad, it means that you get pulled from the game and it can destroy your chances of winning the game. So as a result, Naya was feeling that inner conflict of whether or not she should go and get a scan, because if the news comes back bad, it could end her time on the challenge. Now, Naya's new partner, Gabe, of course, is worrying his ass off. He's panicking left, right and centre, thinking, oh God, like, did I just get myself into somebody who can't even compete? But also worried about her at the same time. But then it took a little bit of a turn for the worse, and Gabe was really starting to talk crap about Naya. He was saying her cardio is all that kind of jazz. He was basically talking about her behind her back and maligning her to a bunch of the people in the house. Definitely a rookie mistake there, talking crap about a vet. I too would want the vets out if I was a rookie, but there's a way to do it without arousing suspicion, and that's exactly the rookie mistake that Gabe made there, because it actually ended up getting back to Naya, and the two of them got into it. Sydney was sat on the sidelines and she absolutely loved it. I remember watching Sydney on Survivor in the New Era in those earlier seasons, and she, sadistic isn't the word, but what's one level down from it? That's the best way of putting Sydney. She's here for entertainment value, but she loves the people arguing because she thrives on it. She thrives on the Satan side of things. See how some people have got the angel and the devil on their shoulders? Sydney's got the devil on this side, and she's also got her old friend Satan on this side. Basically, it's double devil. Naya and Gabe finally sat down to try and talk things through. I would say talk things through, but it was more so Naya telling Gabe everything he had done wrong and spoke out. I like Naya though. I'm not so much of a fan of Gabe so far, but I am really enjoying Naya from what I've seen of her. But she said, I literally had to write down this quote because it was insane what she said. She says, "How dare you? This is your first time playing the game. How dare you size me up and say what you think my worth is in this game? If you think I feel good about being attached to you, I don't." Oh my word. I love this. This is why I'm really enjoying the challenge, folks. It's people who aren't afraid to say what's on their mind. There's none of this tiptoeing and, going around. Bollocks to that. Balls to the wall. I like it when people just say, people want to win this game, and if they don't like you, they're going to tell you, because that's the way you squash the beef. Instead of Big Brother or Survivor, where it just feels a little bit passive-aggressive all the time without actually addressing the situation. But again, each game warrants a different social dynamic and a different strategy to maneuver. But the challenge, everybody seems really out there when it comes to their convictions. She actually did put Gabe in his place completely and totally humbled him and said, "Look, have you even been in the top 5 for anything so far?" And he goes, "No." No. And she's like, "Respectfully, F you." What a way to end the segment. It was Derek's birthday, so the challengers threw a little party that had lots of meat and drinks and all that kind of jazz. And there was also a penis piñata for those that tickle their fancy with that one. Cara Maria also had a go at roasting everybody. It was it kind of felt a little bit flat for some of it, but I enjoyed it. I'm warming to Cara Maria, and That's just over the last couple of weeks. You know, I'm because I'm new to the challenge, I'm forming my opinions of all these different people. And they're mixed opinions across the bunch, but Cara Maria, I've only seen good things from her so far. Really enjoying her presence on this season. In a little segment, we got to see into Cedric's strategy for a little bit, and I really liked it. He was pretending that he couldn't swim in the pool, so everyone was doting on him and looking after him like young Cedric. Like in the Big Brother house, people underestimated him, but then he took a stray bullet on that week where he got evicted. He was kind of a casualty of war, not somebody. He wasn't the head of the snake that they were cutting off, but they wanted to weaken somebody, so they took Cedric out, and he's playing to that angle of, you know, he's just young Cedric who doesn't know much and can't do much, but it's not the case. He fully knows how to swim, and he was luring people in there with that one. The first person that Justin and Olivia sat down with at the club was Naya, and they wanted to know who she was comfortable going up against in Elimination. That's something I've noticed with this show. They actually ask the person who's going into Elimination who they would, you know, want to go up against. They actually give respect to this person. I like that. It's weird because when I'm doing Big Brother, if you're kind of on the bottom of the house, there isn't much empathy or grace shown towards you. You're just kind of shunned out by the rest of the house so everybody else can follow the crowd. So that was something I've picked up on while watching the challenge for these first few weeks. We got some more insight into Justin's game when he was discussing the fact that the ladies he was closest to was Sydney, Dee and Lekka. On the other hand, Izzy, Adrienne and Tay are the ones that he's least close to, I noticed there. That's the UK-Aussie alliance again. Kind of isolating themselves from the house because of this open secret about the fact they have an alliance. Olivia, of course, though, even though she hasn't said it outwardly, it's more clear than day that she has her finger where they're all wrapped around it. Those UK girls, even though she's the American one, she's obviously been dating Theo in the UK, which is the British connection, and then it's all just, it's combined like that. So, of course, there's some conflict there because Olivia and Justin are a pair. They have to make the decision, whereas Justin's saying, I'm not really close to these girls, whereas Olivia's saying, we're not going to do that. We're not going to put those in because even though I can't say it outwardly, they're my girls. But I'm definitely going to make it clear in my decision later, Justin, so just grin and bear it, my friend. Olivia did then throw out America's name with the intention, again, not of targeting America, but making Johnny Bananas the hangnail if she would go home, because they believe that America is the physically weakest of the women that are left, so throwing her in with Naya, they think it would be a piece of cake when it came to Naya eliminating America. Johnny Bananas did get wind of this. I'm starting to realise just how egotistical this guy is, but I don't hate him because I feel like he's very entertaining and keeps things, you know, but he is so full of himself. And then he turns around in his confessional and he goes, oh, what, you just want to target me because I've won 7 times? Like, it wasn't like a legitimate reason to target him. Insane. Everybody at the club was talking about America. It seemed like her name was the only name that was being thrown out, to be honest. And there was a lot of talk from America about how she feels like Justin has gotten more of an ego since he's gotten to the top. We, of course, know Justin was thrown into elimination on the first episode, but then he comes out as the winner of today's challenge. And America noticed that he is, you know, he's getting a bit more full of himself. And later in the episode, we're going to discuss somebody else that also thought the same thing. But America was on it like a car bonnet. She realised that if people aren't talking to her, it means they are talking about her. And that's always something to pick up on when it comes to these social games. There was also some speculation about a double elimination coming up. They believe it might be a couple more solo eliminations, man, woman, and then they might send people home as duos. They're realising that there are so many people there that they're not just going to do one person a week. I am also with them there. I'm looking at the size of this cast, and even though I haven't seen a lot of the challenge, I can figure out that there are way less episodes than there are people. So they're going to have to shave those numbers down somehow. But Michaela was worried about the idea of having to compete in a pair because she expressed the fact that in her first season she was eliminated by being in a pair elimination and she was dragged down by somebody else, so she feels like she wants to go solo this game and she really hopes it doesn't come down to competing in pairs again. Jake was talking about a little bit of a bromance with Gabe and Leo, saying that those guys are the ones that he trusted the most and that he was closest to in this house. Just a little bit of insight there into Jake's game. Back at the house now, and Gabe and Naya decided it was time to squash the beef, or more so Gabe approached Naya to do this. He actually realised, reflected and said, yeah, I made a rookie mistake there. I am sorry. It was so funny because he said this funniest bit of dialogue where he turns around and goes, I'm sorry, you are a legend. And she goes, Me and my partner Sam were watching that and we actually laughed at how she casually went, being a legend. Imagine one day, guys, having status enough where someone could say to you, you're a legend, and you can go, back to them. It was such a funny moment. But yeah, he said, I'm sorry, it was a rookie move, and did all that ass-kissing stuff to get himself back in her good graces. And she said, accountability is one of the most beautiful things a human can do, and showing that accountability and growth is special to me. So they actually did seem to squash the beef there a little bit, or at least save face, whatever you want to call it. But I would say they were closer than they were when they were beefing with one another. So even though it might still be like that far apart, that slightly mended relationship is better than a completely strained one. It was time for the rest of the house to vote who would go up against Nia in elimination, and there were basically two names going in, or so they expressed. They were like, it's going to be either America or Tay. There'd barely been any discussion of Tay in the entire episode. So going into this, I was feeling almost 99.9% sure that America would be voted because, again, very, very little conversations shown about voting Tay. Olivia and Justin, of course, though, had to decide who they were going to save first, and they decided to save Turbo and Izzy. Mainly Izzy, of course, because she would be the one competing, but it still saves Turbo at risk of being the hangnail. We saw in a confessional that Michaela basically felt like she blew up her spot. She did not need to save Izzy because Olivia, there's been all this talk about her working with the UK people, but she hasn't really addressed it and actually said the truth, but it kind of feels like an open secret. And Michaela was annoyed at basically the fact that she saved Izzy, not even trying to pretend to save face with the vet women. So she was very, very annoyed about that and actually stood up and confronted her to her face and said, come on, you did not need to save Izzy. Nobody's talked about Izzy. It didn't change the game at all. It was a stupid way to use the power, and you kind of just fully exposed where you stand in the game. Those two weren't the only two to get into it, though. This seemed like a very explosive vote. Loads of people had little butt-ins with each other. I like it. I like it a lot. I am wondering, and you guys can probably answer this, I'm guessing as the season goes on, there's going to be more and more explosions every single week, or little fights between everybody. I love that crap, so keep that coming. If that's episode 3, I can't even imagine what episode 10 is going to be like. And Nisa and Cara Maria got into it. There was accusations from Cara Maria and Ashley that Anissa talks about, wanting to work independently and, do her own thing this game and make good moves. And they were basically saying she just wants to do what Johnny Bananas wants her to do. Adrienne got in it with Bananas, and Bananas' ego blasted out onto the screen. I expected nothing less, no surprise to me there. He even went as far to say, I am the challenge. Leo stood up and said, we got to change this game. Stop targeting the rookies. I don't care if this gets a target on my back right now. And then everyone looks at him and goes, yep, you just put a target on your back. Rookie mistake, and I can already see in a few seasons' time when Leo sat in the Challenge 44 or whatever, and he says, I made a big mistake the first time I was here, and that was announcing to everybody on week 3 that we need to change the game up and that I don't want a target on my back, but then continue to give the speech, meaning that he won't make that same mistake, hopefully, if he continues in another season. Izzy voted America and Bananas going with the majority, and she said it's nothing to do with Bananas. Then Bananas goes, liar. It was just spat after spat, and I loved it. Izzy turns around and says, no, it's my turn to speak, shut the up. It was just zinger after zinger. I love this crap. Adrienne then made the same mistake as Leo, standing up there in front of everybody and saying, we are a new generation, we got to turn this around. Leo got the message across, just let him take the bullet, Adrienne. But no, she did the whole speech again, but her own version of it. She was talking about switching things up and not going with the flow, and then she proceeded to vote America and Turbo by going with the flow. The vote count came in and Tay received 4 votes, with America receiving 9, meaning that America would face off against Nia in elimination this week. Right before elimination, Johnny Bananas and Olivia finally got into it. They had a bit of a bust up. I would say Johnny Bananas came out better in it. I think Olivia thinks, I don't know if anybody else is feeling this way, but I think Olivia was acting like she thought she'd won the argument, but I feel like she didn't just from watching it. Johnny Bananas, it seems like he uses his bravado and ego to hide the fact that he gets irritated. He seems like a very angry man, but I feel like that's half of his entertainment. That's half of his value when it comes to these kind of shows. But Olivia, was saying, please don't ever talk to me. She walked off and said, I'm never going to talk to you again. And then Johnny Bananas was like, you promise? The rent's due. That was the line of the episode for me, because Olivia's acting like she doesn't care about Johnny Bananas, but she is fixated on him. But at the same time, Johnny Bananas is so freaking full of himself that this is just such a perfect rivalry to watch play out. And I hope that both of them stay in for a long duration in this game, because if they keep trying to snipe at each other but never actually get each other out, it's just going to make the rivalry even better as it goes on. Anissa was talking about the fact that she felt like she was the bridge between the two of them, saying Olivia's her best friend in the house, but she wants to be in good with Johnny Bananas as well. And I feel like that further cemented what Cara Maria and Ashley were talking about earlier, saying the fact that Anissa makes out she wants to make big moves and all that kind of stuff, but she just really wants to be in good with Johnny Bananas. I can't really make my assumption there yet because I haven't seen enough of it, but the edit made it look like that was true. It was finally time for the challenge and everybody headed to the arena. It was Nia versus America and tensions were very, very high. Gabe and Bananas were on the line as who could be the next hangnail depending on who won. If America wins, it would make that Gabe would be the hangnail, and if Nia won, then it would make sure that Johnny Bananas would be the hangnail, which would basically... that would be the perfect plan for what Olivia wanted, and then the UK Alliance would have a leg up going into next week. There was a little bit of conflict though before we actually got to the challenge beginning, with Bananas announcing to the whole arena that I live in Olivia's head rent free. Olivia believes that she came out well from this, thinking that Bananas' little blow up and ego spilling out kind of exposed him as for his true colours in front of the whole house. But to me, I feel like, listen, I'm new to the challenge, but to me, I don't think that's anything new with Bananas from what I understand. I don't think anybody was surprised there. So honestly, I think Olivia might be overestimating just how much that might have helped her game, because I really don't think it did at all. Even Bananas' partner, America, stepped out and she said that Johnny Bananas lives in his own head rent-free, and that she's watched him on TV for years and he's just as annoying in real life as he is on the TV. But then it was time for the elimination after some back and forth conflict, which was just the perfect way to lay the groundwork for the challenge. TJ has an announcement. He looks at Nia and says, the MRI scans have came back and they have said that you are not clear to compete, meaning that you have been eliminated from the challenge. It was so quick. It was so quick like that. I was... That's rough. That's rough. I've watched enough Survivor to know how much the Medevacs crush people when they have to be removed from the game. There's been some brutal ones over the years. And once again, we've got a Medevac here on the challenge, and this time it was Nia. She was unable to compete due to the MRI scans coming back and saying that she cannot compete anymore in the challenge. With this result, it means that Gabe is now the new hangnail of the challenge vets and new threats, and America is staying in the game with Bananas completely intact and ruining Olivia's plan. Now the episode ended out with the new partners being revealed going into next week, folks, so here are the brand new partners. Justin is now with Aviv. Olivia is with Jeremy. Cedric and Cara Maria. Michaela and Ben. Derek and Izzy. Turbo and Sydney. Anissa and Will. Nani and Jake. Johnny Bananas is, as he said, with Sexy Lexi, which is also Lekka. America and Theo are now a pair. Derek and Dee are together. That's Derek with a CK. Tay and Leroy are together. Ashley and Leo are now a pair, leaving Citi and Adrienne to come together. It's all to play for next week, folks. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It was so good. If you can't tell, I'm really enjoying the challenge, you guys. It's a really great show, and it's full of people who are there to compete. They really want to win, and to me that is so refreshing. It's people who aren't afraid to show that they are there to get the money, and that to me is just the best feeling in the world. I have watched so much reality TV in my 23 years on this earth. I was born in the era of reality TV, so it only feels natural that I grew up on it, and I still love it to this day. And to me, when I'm watching these social competitions where you've got to compete to win a hefty amount of money, I want to see people compete hard, because that's a lot of money that can change your life, folks. And seeing some people just roll over for it in some games and letting somebody else steamroll over them, that's always a no-no from me. But it seems like you don't find that on the challenge, which I absolutely love. But folks, that's all we've got time for today. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed this challenge breakdown. I'm here every single week breaking it all down. I also cover Bachelor in Paradise, and you might know me from my Big Brother videos that I've been doing for years and years and years. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, folks, to stay tuned on TV Talks with Tom. But in the meantime, I hope that you're all staying safe, staying positive, and staying healthy out there. And remember to be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that wonderful stuff. But until your next challenge breakdown, I've been your host, Tom VASEY. Good night.